So we starting off tonight with what may be one of the better movies of the night. Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 from '87. So it's a sequel to the Prom Night movie from 1980, though there's no relation, which arguably works in the movie's benefit. Basically, 30 years after the death of the prom queen in '57, the spirit of the prom queen returns and sort of possesses this goody two-shoes student, and then she becomes not so goody two-shoes and things start happening and some spooky stuff. Prom Night 2 is a movie I've seen maybe 3 or 4 times now. I've always enjoyed it, and I've always enjoyed it more than the original Prom Night. I don't hate the original Prom Night by any means, and I gave it like an almost average rating last time I saw it. But Prom Night 2 really feels like a quality 80s horror movie, even though it doesn't get everything right. I think it has a lot of quality performances, very interesting ideas, very, not necessarily spooky, but pretty decent special effects, almost like a Nightmare on Elm Street-esque type stuff going on. So I definitely think it's a interesting sequel, and the direction they went in was maybe a bit unique, but I think it worked out. And this one is one I suspect we may have mild disagreements on. So what did you think about this one, Chucky?
Yeah, well, as people will know if they've listened to our Prom Night review, I like the original Prom Night quite a bit, and you tend to feel it's kind of only average. So I guess with you enjoying this one more than the first one, it goes without saying that I enjoy the first one more than I enjoy this one, just because it's so different. It's, I mean, the first one's a slasher movie. This one essentially turns a slasher into more of a supernatural movie. It's not really connected in any way. So, look, I mean, the movie's not bad. I mean, it's still alright. It's just, I think with this movie, there's just nothing real in it that is kind of memorable to me. It, I mean, it does have that 80s charm to it, and I mean that most movies from the 80s have that 80s charm, so I can't really say that makes it stand out for me. But yeah, like the original movie, there's multiple scenes in that even years later after watching the film that I remember, especially, you know, the ending. Whereas this one, I watched this twice actually in the last 2-3 weeks, and I already forget pretty much everything in it. Sadly to say, I do. So my notes on this one, if I didn't have notes written down, I'd barely have anything to talk about. I just can't remember much of the movie.
You're not a Michael Ironside guy?
I actually don't mind Michael Ironside. I've seen him in plenty of things. I think he's a decent actor. I mean, he's not even the main character in the movie, so, you know, he pops up every now and then in certain scenes. We know a part of what's going on in the movie has to do with him, but yeah, I mean, it's not really the type of movie you watch for Michael Ironside. I guess the main thing I enjoyed about the movie was the shower scene with the running in the towel. That was very nice.
I was wondering if that scene would stand out to you. And it probably stood out in many ways.
I will say, that is one thing I remember, but to be fair to all other movies, any other movie with a scene like that, you know, it's like instant memory. It just, you know, that goes into the bank, but everything else, no.
Well, I thought some of the scenes were somewhat creative, like the whole chalkboard sequence. And, you know, just a few the more, like, illusions that she sees throughout the movie. You know, it's nothing, like, mind-blowing, but I definitely thought there was a bit more of an atmosphere here than what you might otherwise expect.
Yeah, I mean, there's decent effects in the movie, and like you said, that chalkboard scene, yeah, that probably does stand out a little bit, but I couldn't help but feel it was kind of like ripping off Freddy Krueger going through the wall in the original movie. So yeah, it just, I mean, yeah, a lot of these things I've kind of either seen before, or I think, though, the main thing is that I enjoyed the first movie. It's a slasher movie, and now this one's turned the slasher into a supernatural movie. And I'm more of a slasher guy than a supernatural guy. I know you are, but because you didn't really care for the first movie, that that kind of plays into its favor, I guess, for you. But yeah, it just didn't stand out for me. Not a bad movie, just yeah, it's just okay. I guess one thing, I mean, I've got notes on this, so this is why I remember it, but there's just a few little things in the movie that were just stood out, I guess. Like, there's just random moments where certain people in the movie have, like, weird outbursts. Like, early on in the movie, there's a poor guy just asking for some girl's attention. She's like, "Get lost, asshole," and I don't even think he really did anything. And then you got this like judgy priest talking about violence on television sets, and I'm like, oh, fuck you. And we even got this Fabio looking ass boyfriend who plays volleyball like a bitch. And there's one moment where the lead actress is like, "You shut your fucking mouth, bitch." And I don't know, it's just some weird random outbursts, I thought.
I have to say, my favorite thing about that last scene is how the principal just walks by without saying anything.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, she's probably right. That girl is pretty much a bitch. So.
But I do commend that one girl on a bribe attempt to win prom queen.
Yeah, I almost felt bad for her. I don't, but like trying to seduce it. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know. I didn't go to my prom, so I have no idea how they do that, if they even do that nowadays. I'm assuming if they do, it's a lot more non-biased than having the student do it. But yeah, trying to win the prom queen just by engaging in such behavior seems, I mean, a bit iffy. I guess the question is, who is the worst character in the movie? Is it Mary Lou, or is it Vicky's mother?
Yeah, the mother. Now that I'm just trying to recall her, but I do remember she's a bit of a bitch. Look, I mean, Mary Lou is... Yeah, I mean, she cheats on the guy she's with, and she doesn't really seem like anyone to root for, so...
No, but the mother's just so unbearably horrible that I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with her being called the worst person in the movie, yeah.
In fact, there's a scene in which the mother sort of gets, I think, psychically thrown out of the front door glass pane, and I was happy with that. No, and actually, on that note, there's not that many great death scenes in the movie. I mean, this one girl gets crushed in the locker, another one gets hung and then flung out the window. So nothing in that department really stands out. But I still think there's enough small interesting things here. One thing I did want to mention, this is one of those really small things that probably would get brought up a lot, but there's a character in this movie, oh god, what was her name? Jessica, played by an actress named Beth Gandig. And she's like an alternative girl, has sort of a punk look to her, but she has a pretty emotional scene somewhat early on in the movie, which for I don't see that many like scenes in 80s horror movies that really get to me, but her performance in that scene, and she's crying and such in the bathroom, I thought that was a pretty quality scene and surprisingly decent for this type of movie. So even though this actress has only done like 7 movies and she's probably dead now, kudos to her. The ending was a bit iffy though, so I'll give you that. Actually, the ending reminded me of the ending of the original Nightmare on Elm Street. And also there's a SK Rockin' Horse, so a lot of cool things going on. So I'm going to throw this movie. I watched this earlier today just to make sure my rating before was correct. And even though it may seem a little high, I think I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to be giving this an 8.5 out of 10, and I'll lower that down to an 8 out of 10. I think it's nothing like innovative, but it's a movie I have a lot of fun with. There's a lot of like zany characters, the whole like potato science thing, just like random stuff going on. I have a fun time with this movie, and it doesn't seem nearly as dry, in my view, as the first Prom Night does. So That is my point of view. 8 out of 10. Take it or leave it.
That rating is too damn high.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with a 6 out of 10. And look, basically, I think earlier we summed it up that, look, if you didn't like the first movie, you should still give this one a shot just because it's way different. And if you did like the first movie, I mean, you might still like this movie, I don't know. But, I mean, for me, I liked the first movie. I didn't really care for it being turned into something completely different, something unrelated, turned into a supernatural movie. And, yeah, I mean, look, it's an 80s movie. You probably have some sort of okay time with it, even if you don't love it, but as long as you're into 80s movies, I mean, you can't have a terrible time with it, at least not in my opinion, but yeah, it just didn't work for me. Who knows though, maybe, I'll watch it again 5 years later and I'll completely flip my opinion on it. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, I was going to request it for the next week's show, so.
Well, look, I watched it twice in the past couple of weeks, so
that is impressive.
I don't know if that's going to work. I think it might need a few years on, let it rest for a little while before we tackle that one again.